Currently, we are giving only a 5% hike across teams.
5%. But the market standard for my role is at least 15%.
Sorry, just for one employee, we can't go an extra mile.
When I joined last year, I was told that my compensation will be fairly assisted in the next year's cycle.
Surely, but I can't do more than...
For all of us, appraisal is the most interesting part of the job. But getting a raise is not just about asking a game of positioning. I have been working as an operational manager in a logistic tech company for over a year now. Today, I have this annual performance review with my manager, which will decide my hike percentage. I have done my research and the average salary hike in India is 10%. But my friends working in the organization told me they don't give them more than 5% to anyone. I'm determined to get what I deserve. Let's see how it goes.
Hi, Arav. Good to see you. Thanks for joining on time. I actually have seen your self-review and performance data sheet. You tell me, how has this year been for you?
It's been intense, but in a good way. When I joined, the major challenges we were facing is delivery delays. Almost 1 out of 4 deliveries was getting delayed. Now that number turns down to 1 out of 20.
And how were you able to do this?
So we made small but smart decisions like improving how vendors hand over shipments and setting up a weekly tracking system. It took time initially, but the results are showing. Even stock problems in the warehouse dropped a lot. Earlier, we used to run out of the items more often. Now, that's been cut down to half just by changing how we restock items.
Yeah, I did notice those improvements. The numbers are there, but isn't that very much expected out of your job?
This is my opening move. I opened with a real visible impact because the first few minutes of an appraisal conversation sets the tone for everything that follows. If you start with a vague words like I have worked really hard or I gave my best, then you are not giving your manager any specific reason. But when you begin with the results, then you shift the conversation to the impact you made, and psychologically, this impact positions you at a place from where all the conversations will be affected in your favor. This is called anchoring bias. Simple takeaway is to start by specially mentioning what changed because of you. Yes, expected from my job role, and also it has grown naturally over time.
In what way?
Initially, I was focused mostly over my regular day to day task. As things came up, I started taking more. Like when one of our vendors pulled out last minute, I quickly handled all the calls, did the follow ups, and within that last minute, I arranged a new vendor so everything kept on. Then, during the time of expansion, I managed all the things when the team lead was away. There wasn't any type of formal handover, but I make sure that things were on the track.
Right. I've heard few people say that you are their go-to person when something breaks in.
This is where we can shift the direction. Whenever our achievements are downpaid, don't get defensive. Instead, calmly lay out everything you did. That wasn't expected because in every company there are two types of people: those who wait for instructions and those who quietly take charge when the unexpected hits. The second kind are the ones leaders rely on, and that's exactly what justify a better hike. Here's the takeaway is to show them the part of your job that never existed on paper. Once they point out that you are doing everything according to your GD paper, now it appears that I have proved that my work is worth than the hype. But he appears stubborn. Let's see which trick he plays.
So, Arav, one thing I have noticed, you've been steady throughout the year. No complaints, no escalations. But unfortunately, we are keeping hikes this year very limited. We are mostly rewarding big wins and standout performances.
Yeah, that makes sense, but I would like to highlight one more point that might help you to decide better.
Go ahead.
Remember the warehouse tech failure we had in March? Right before the order start getting out, the system crashed. We couldn't print anything. Packages were piling up, calls were non-stop. It honestly felt like we would mess up half the daily orders.
Yeah, I remember there was some chaos that day.
I jumped in, helped the team sort and send everything manually, coordinated with the IT to fix the glitch and make sure all the orders sent properly. That day alone would have cost us lakhs in penalty and more vendor trust.
Honestly, Arav, most of the people would not even call it a highlight. It's just your regular operations that you need to do.
Yes, but do you agree that standout work isn't always shiny? Sometimes just stepping into the work when it's breaking out is also a good win.
I agree. Still, this year we are only allowing 5% hike across most of the teams.
From here, the conversation can go in two directions. The manager acknowledges the work and we feel happy. Then he says, we are only giving X percentage this year. We quietly nod and tell ourselves, it's fine. We don't want to push too much and we walk out feeling confused. Not proud, not angry, just a little underpaid, but unsure what to do. But there's another side of the coin too. This is the time to push because they are already convinced you are worth the hike for the work you have done. Yeah, I understand the process, but I still feel there's a mismatch.
Mismatch in what sense?
When I joined last year, I was offered 8 LPA. At that time, they told me, stick around, show some impact, and in the next year's cycle, we'll take care of your increment. It wasn't just about joining the company, it was about growing with it. That's why I stepped into the situation that weren't even in my scope.
I agree, but I know you also understand how budgets work, right? We can't stretch it for everybody who puts in a little extra.
She's definitely not going to stretch much. I can now try my last move. Before this meeting, I didn't just prepare what I did, I also studied what the role is worth. I spoke to few persons outside, went through current job listings and checked the hike trends in the industry. Now, this will help me react logically and not emotionally. Absolutely, but I've also looked at the market standard. People in my similar role are getting 15% or more outside. Even I'm not asking for 20%, but just a 5% increment make it seems like my extra efforts blends into an average.
Okay, let's say you've done a little extra than what's written in your role. And let's say the market is moving the way you said. Still, I can't promise you 10%. That would require a lot of approvals and may raise some parity concerns in the team.
Okay, that's fair. I'm not trying to create any sort of exception over here. Just wanted to make an honest conversation with you. Please do let me know what we can do in the current bandwidth while still acknowledging what's been delivered.
Look, 8% is the best I can do to make sure it looks like, a performance-based hike. Beyond that, it becomes a larger conversation.
8% might not be at par with the market standard, but at least it's more than 5%. Also, I'm getting this as an appreciation for the extra effort, so it's worth it. Next time when you are planning to get a hike, don't focus on reaching a percentage because that's not in our hand. We need to first position ourselves at the right place by explaining impact and extra responsibilities. Once they acknowledge, then we can use our market research to highlight the parity. This helps us to reach a conclusion like this. Here's one more thing. Not every time you get a chance to have a formal or informal conversation like this, because some companies use a bell curve appraisal system, which is mostly predetermined. So stay proactive and either way your efforts will be noticed. This was all for today's video. If you find it helpful, so comment down what type of more topics you are looking for. For more such helpful content, subscribe to Marwadi Universe.